Well, good morning everyone. Today we're gonna do a little bit of a fleet update. It's been a while since I did any updates on all the cars, and what I usually do every couple of weeks is I go around, make sure they all start and run and everything else, because that's what we have to do when you have a bunch of project and garbage cars. And lately, in the last few weeks to a month, I've been insanely busy. Did a thing with the wife, and now it's time to play a little bit of catch up. We'll start off here at the house, and then we have a few places to visit, and let's give you some updates. So this thing here, I'm working on a video for it, so we'll just gloss over this one for now. This we'll come back to, but it is here and it's dirty. Elephant in the room is the 190E. Now, I might have mentioned at the beginning of this year that I was gonna put a lot of focus on this car and finally get the engine swap done and get it running and driving. Well, now we're in the fourth quarter of the year and I've done nothing with it. Most of it has to do with things like, if you ask my wife, like buying things like these, but she doesn't know what's good for her. But other than that, prices of everything, as everybody knows, are just absolutely asinine, so it's kind of been on the back burner, but it really bothers me that this car sits untouched and it's not out there shredding the tires. We'll run it here in a moment. I have my trusty jump box and charger that I bring around with me, because when these cars sit for a long time, they don't like to start. This one's usually pretty good about it, so we'll see. Let's start with getting this one started. Start with getting it started. Yeah. Alright, scratch what I said about this car's usually good about starting. It is completely dead. The battery's at 2%, so we'll let that charge here for a little bit, and we'll move on to these two. Obviously this one here is just Lauren's daily driver. We'll still run it, get it up to temp and everything else, but nothing needs to be done with this car. Nothing will likely get done with this car. Maybe we'll put a tune on it. We've talked about that when we first got it, and talks went quiet about it, so maybe in the future we'll put a tune on it and compare it to how it was before and after. With a tune, you get something like 650 horsepower out of these, so that could be fun. C63, as you guys saw in the last video I posted, I am running an S2000, and that is an open-ended event thing, so the C63 has kind of become a back burner. You know, I mean, I don't plan on running it at any more autocrosses this year. If I run it at any events next year, they'll probably be one-offs. It won't be something I'll run consistently all season. So what our plan is, and we kind of discussed it, preserving it and making it something fun. I do have suspension to lower it. Obviously I didn't because of the SCCA rules to stay in street class. So I might put that suspension on, lower it a little bit. Don't know what I'm going to do about the whole tire situation. Maybe just leave these and run them down, or just upgrade something to something completely different. Maybe some nicer OEM plus wheels. Over the years, this car obviously saw a lot of abuse, as you guys have seen on the channel, anything from drifting to autocrossing. And on camera, it doesn't really show, but there's a good amount of rock chips on the front of this thing, on the headlights and whatnot. So we might do a little mini restore, get this thing cleaned up and looking mint, lower it a little bit, and just have a cool car to just rip around, take on some cruises and road trips and whatnot, because that's what this car does best. And then probably do one-off events to, like autocrosses or something like that, because it's way too much fun to just let it rot away. But with cars going to all electrification lately, this thing has started going up in value, and they won't make them like this anymore. You won't get naturally aspirated V8s much anymore. Might as well keep it and enjoy it for what it is, and that is an awesome V8 monster. We might as well take this thing for a quick spin around the block, because the 190E is really dead and needs to charge. I love this car. I can never get rid of it. sticky 275s in the rear. This thing has no problem breaking traction. That never gets boring. Never does. Let's try this again. I really gotta get this thing on the road and racing. Alright, we'll let this thing run for a little bit and we'll move on to this guy. So all the Mercedes have been ran. Time for part 2 of the road trip. There's our Chariot for it. We'll talk about that one when we're in it. Next stop is the truck. All right, as mentioned, we're going to the next destination, which is the truck. We're gonna swap this thing out for the truck. I have some stuff I gotta do tomorrow with it. But what are the plans with the Golf R? Well, first of all, it has just done daily duties, so it really doesn't need a cold start and run. It has done a fantastic job at it, but I don't want to keep this car as a daily driver. Over the last year that I've had it, this car has grown on me quite a lot, and it is an amazing daily driver, don't get me wrong, especially in stock form as it is. My plans for it are to turn it into the ultimate Wookies in the Woods car, because it did such a great job when we went, and I really enjoyed that event. If you haven't watched the video, I'll link it in the description below, but it was one of the best car events I've been to in years. I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to go back every single year now. The plans for this thing, for it to be the ultimate Wookies in the Woods car, would be to upgrade the suspension a little bit. I'd like to put some better coilovers or something like that on it, upgrade the tires, maybe a little bit of power and some other stuff. Once I get through the million projects I have currently going on, we'll address that, and I'd like for it to be the ultimate Golf R for Wookies in the Woods, and maybe do a little bit less of daily driving duties, although it does a really great job at being a daily driver. So next destination is the truck. We'll be there in a few minutes, and then we'll go to see the Mark III, and it's not the last stop on our journey, but probably the one with the most updates. No real updates with the truck, aside from the fact that I had to change the battery because it's been sitting around so much, but I gotta use it tomorrow, so we're gonna leave the Golf R, swap out for the truck, and do truck things and move on to our next stop, which is the Mark III. All right, we're at our last physical stop, not virtual stop, for today. The storage unit I have the Mark III in, and this thing hasn't started in probably almost 2 months. So we'll see how much battery charging and whatnot I have to do to get this thing going. Well, that took a lot of unnecessary extra effort to get started. I sat here probably like an hour charging this thing. It was completely dead. She started up, did her bi-monthly run. For some of you with a keen eye, you might have noticed this in the background as I was running it. So what the plan with this thing, I'm slowly collecting parts like I did the first time I fully built this car. There's some things I sold off of it that I really regretted. One of those was this eyebrow. It took me months and months to find one. I actually bought it from Lithuania of all places and then had to wait another month or something like that for it to ship in. I want to change the mirrors back to the PZWO mirrors I had. I have plans to put air ride back on this car because I took that off and it's still plumbed for it, so why not? And I might switch up the wheels. In the engine department, I would like to do a little bit of upgrading. There's a part of me that kind of wants to go 24 valve VR6 with it, but I really like the 12 valve. I like this engine. I like the way it sounds. So I might keep that original, but maybe put a blower on it of some sort just to give it a little extra oomph. And I want to kind of focus back on the interior again. If you're watching this YouTube video, you might not really know this car very well, but at one point in like 2015, it was a little bit popular on the old interwebs, and I had different seats in it. Now we're back to sport plaids in it. I sold the seats that I had inside of it. So that is an avenue I kind of want to revisit, is getting different seats. But I do miss the seats I had. I will put a picture over now so you could see what the seats this car used to have. And also we'll put another picture of what it looked like in its prime. This thing's not going anywhere. It's just kind of on the back burner because of all the other projects, but I do want to revive this thing and bring it to a lot more events in 2024. So this thing ain't going nowhere, and it's going to make a proper comeback, not what I did with Helen this past year. I just kind of dragged it there as it sat and put it on a trailer for the first time. It went to Helen in like 8 years, and she'll be back in her prime in no time. Now, the last thing we got to check on is the Passat, and I mentioned it very briefly at the beginning of the year, but I have a Passat that's sitting up in the Great White North that I plan on doing some stuff with. That is another project, but it starts, runs, and drives. It's a 4Motion wagon Passat, which is awesome, and we're going to make a quick video call to see if we could get it started and running and kind of do a short walk around so you guys kind of get an idea of what this Passat that I have entails. We're visiting the Passat all the way up north. Ugh. Oh yeah, so beautiful.
absolutely doesn't even want to react to anything. Got the power, but the starter is stuck probably. Oh, that's a fail. That's a huge fail. Give it one more shot. Yeah. Dead. Nothing happens.
Well, I guess we won't be checking on the Passat today. And why don't you give everybody a walk around the car? Oh yeah. Yeah, buddy. And it comes with Audi wheels.
Yeah. Most of them are Audi and one is not.
Minor details.
One is it.
Oh well, no running for the Passat today then.
Yeah. That's really sad. What can we do? Sorry. We tried.
What kind of mechanics are you?
What kind of mechanics are we? That battery. I thought it was that. It wasn't.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye. All right, that will do it for the fleet update. Obviously, we couldn't get the Passat started. It has probably been sitting longer than any of the other cars. I think it's on year 2 or 3. I know we got it started, I think, earlier this spring, but that's gonna be much down the road future project. In case I've never mentioned the Passat before, or you are not aware of me even having the 4Motion Passat, I plan on doing a VR6 swap in that thing one day with a really large turbocharger, and I want to make it a drag and drive vehicle. I've always wanted to do a drag and drive event, and I've always wanted to have something bespoke to do drag racing in, and what better way to do it than an all-wheel drive wagon. So eventually we'll bring that car down here and we'll get started on it. As you could tell, I have a million other projects going on, so it might be a while. Maybe sometime next year we'll get that Passat down here and we'll do what we need to do. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Obviously we have a lot of things going on. I want to send this year out with a bang. There's a trip the wife and I have planned that I will record, and you guys will see that. It's something I'm actually really excited about, and I probably shouldn't be as excited about. I don't get excited about anything anymore. But either way, we have that trip planned, and then we have a couple more autocrosses before the season ends. And then obviously we have all these projects. So there's plenty more stuff coming to the channel. So please subscribe if you don't, like, comment, and all that other good stuff. And yeah, let me know what I should do with some of these cars. If you have any suggestions of what else I could do, or if you want to help pay for some of it, I will not complain at all. Either way, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.